Mom? Dad?
You've really got to see this, Ron! You've got to see this! Ron! Ron, come on, get out of bed!
Why?
There's something you've got to see, now come on! Come on, come look, it's my parents!
I only see us.
Looking properly, go on, stand there. There, you see them, don't you?
That's me! Only I'm head boy, and I'm holding the Quidditch cup. And bloody hell, I'm Quidditch captain too! Hello, good. Harry, do you think this mirror shows the future?
How can it? Both my parents are dead.
Back again, Harry? I see that you, like so many before you, have discovered the delights of the Mirror of Erised. I trust by now you realize what it does. Let me give you a clue. The happiest man on earth would look into the mirror and see only himself, exactly as he is.
So then it shows us what we want. Whatever we want.
Yes, and no. It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest and most desperate desires of our hearts. Now you, Harry, who have never known your family, you see them standing beside you. But remember this, Harry. This mirror gives us neither knowledge or truth. Men have wasted away in front of it, even gone mad. That is why tomorrow it will be moved to a new home. And I must ask you not to go looking for it again. It does not do to dwell on dreams, Harry, and forget to live.
I got a question for you, Larry.
Sure, Ty. What's up?
Do you know what your demons look like?
Well, I was shown several faces of what I was in past lives, but as far as my demon goes, not not especially. No, no. He kept himself revealed, invisible, only in thought and presence. Um, and speaking through me. Used me for like a voice box. Okay. So, and he was very guttural. Uh, I'll do a quick imitation of him. He's not allowed in his house anymore. Understand that this is not him, but he would. Is it okay, Jen? Is that going to trigger you?
No, it's okay.
Okay, it's like a weird shit like that. Okay, and
No, do it for real. Do it for real.
I don't want to. Okay. I don't want to taunt him. I really don't want him to come and smack me down because I'm doing a cheap imitation of him. I'll show that respect. So, but yeah, I knew him as Zozo, the Ouija board demon. Called himself Saul. Saul was the first king of Israel. So I don't know if that's related to it or not, but I kind of got that impression. He showed me. He said that I was seventh dimension in prior life. That 4 lifetimes ago, one of my incarnations sold their soul to the devil, and this is what the curse that I am breaking free of. Let's see. So this is why I had literally had like Alzheimer's, a dementia going on, and it was like I believe I had a brain tumor. I believe I had a tumor in my brain, cancerous from radiation. I helped some 2-letter organizations and some 3-letter organizations stop some child trafficking here in my town. And as a result of that, I quickly became a target. I said some things I shouldn't have. I joked about some things that I shouldn't have. And for that, I got the fucking ultimate smackdown of at least 1 magnetron, if not 2 or 3 magnetrons fired at me. For a year. Yeah, for a year. Yeah, you bet. And it was pretty damaging to my body. So it made me incredibly stupid. And, so the ignorance and the carelessness of my actions that brought that upon, yeah, it did. It ruined my reputation. It sure as hell did. Made me look completely unstable. It has tanked my, it had tanked my business at Cannabis Medicine Online, and did some serious damage to between me and some of my longtime patients. So what it does is it's happy when it destroys you or helps you to destroy yourself, and it did what it was to do. I don't have anything to throw out there for my defense. I did what I did. I did do it for what I thought was a proper reason, and I saved countless children from being exploited, abused, taken up off the streets. They were taking them to motels in groups of 6, 7, and 8, taking them to rooms. Um, poo diapers, pee diapers on the black market. So there was some ugly things going on. Okay, and they're not now, or at least the people that I squared off with, they're not doing it. So, would I do it again? Uh, I'd do the saving part. Would I do it the way I did it? Oh, fuck no. I was disrespectful and I got spanked down for it. And, you know, uh, you got to watch what you say. You got to, I always say treat, and I always didn't say this, but I always say it now. Is you got to choose good. You got to choose love. You got to choose light. And that's with every situation, including those who are in a negative existence, especially those who are in a negative existence, because you don't want to become their next victim or the next prey or their subject of their constant thought. And when you are that, when you are their obsession, and um, you know, they have over 20 businesses with backings and this ability and that ability, and it's just yeah, their resources were plentiful, including my own company that was cloned, and it was 8 clones of it. So, you know, yeah, that's the thing. So, and yeah, so that's what's up. You got to watch what you say. You got to think twice before speaking one time. And that's always a good rule of thumb, and always a good generalization of what your life should be. You should. I'm not going to say mind your own business, because we all got to look out for each other, right? We all have to be there for each other. So there is a point to where um, you can be complacent just by inaction. I see it, but I'm going to let it go. I see it, but I'm going to let it go. And I'm not going to do anything about this. You know, let the next guy do it. Let the next guy do it. Don't get involved. Don't look. And that's not right. So, you know, I mean, dangerous situations call for certain people to help, to assist, and they're always there for you. You can find them. You can use your resources and find those who can help. But don't make yourself a victim just by being, yeah, or a target by saying something stupid, or doing something dumb. And which is kind of what I did, man. I was boastful. I was uh, uh, braggadocious. I shot my mouth off when I should have kept it fucking shut, is what happened. And I got spanked. So, you know, you got to watch what you say, and you got to treat people how you want to be treated, how you want to be treated, regardless of um, anything that's going on outside of that. And that's just a general, uh, um, a general ethics, self ethics. You know what I mean? So yeah, I could drone on for a long time about that, but essentially, treat those around you like you want to be treated. Choose goodness. So yeah, man. Tell me about that mask.
Well, Larry, you showed me yours, so I'll show you mine. But it begins with taking this thing off because it's suffocating as fuck, as cool as it may look.
Sure it is.
Well, you started with the name. And while I'm not going to speak with certainty on the name, you and I had a discussion the other night that prompted this after we finished our second filming. And we started talking a little bit about the frog and the psychedelic experience that I've had on the channel.
Yeah.
And you kind of look of panic And you kind of gave me the look of, you know exactly what the fuck this is. Like, what are you doing? This is a djinn. And even when I told that to my husband, he was like, oh yeah, I remember that actually being one of your first guesses, because I fished this outside. So the name that was provided was Dromalcules, and I don't believe that it was provided in the sense of this is its actual name. So one of the nights that I really decided to walk away from Antifa, again, there's a lot of really big instances, but this one we'll say is more ritualistic in nature. I want to explain this experience for people. So I've seen the anarchy, I've seen the fire, I've seen kids getting their heads caved in, I've seen the cops going ape shit, I've seen the militias going ape shit, I've seen Black Lives Matter and Antifa going ape shit. It's insane. It's anarchy. Big on movies, as everybody knows. Joker had actually come out around that time, and that's a movie I cry through because it really hits a lot. But my buddy and I decided to take some mushrooms, and so I do the mushrooms and kind of get in a place where I need to pull back a little bit. And did I send you my studio pictures yet by chance?
Not yet, no.
Okay, I'll send you the studio pictures. They're very light. It's from a time whenever the studio was more organized, but at the time where I'd say I was tweaking, high, drunk, all over the place, every inch of my room, we're talking posters, signs, graffiti, limbs, twigs, branches. You couldn't see an ounce of wall. Like, I couldn't stand to see an ounce of wall. And there was just laughter and ha-has and political shit and demons and scribblings and pictures that were upside down and ripped up, torn pieces of like the Bible and the satanic text and the Dead Sea Scrolls, and even the ceiling wasn't free. Everything was all over the place. There were eyes surrounding me from all angles. It was like my own personal trip whenever I wasn't tripping. It was kind of the vibe that I was going for. And even though I didn't spend much time in there, whenever I went in there, it was like my place that only I understood.
Right.
And to varying degrees, but I would have like my own little art rituals where I think back on some things that I painted or wrote, and now I'm actually kind of embodying the messages that I thought I was just putting something random up. But that night, I'm looking around, and I've told this before, where I was really trying to fool myself I was trying to push off the idea of getting into tattooing, finding a career, being my authentic self. And one of the excuses I was using for a while was make a comic book. If you can't make a comic book, you can't be a tattoo artist. If you can't see one project through, you don't deserve to do anything that you want to do. And I tortured myself with that. I was like, I want to write my own Star Wars. I want to have my own occultish, sci-fi, dark fantasy. Like, I want to have a Star Wars for the conspiracy theorists and the fucking acid heads. Something to where, to the outside observer, it's like, what the fuck is this? But when you get in it, you're like, oh, I get this. But I had no basis for what I wanted that to be other than a couple of loose characters, drawings. My art skills were shit because I was so intoxicated. I could barely hold a pencil half the time. And I just let it plague me to the point where I couldn't even like pick up or draw or do anything, to where the studio ultimately kind of came a reminder that I couldn't do what I loved doing. I could surround myself with all the art in the world. I even had a fake art business for a while. I'll tell that story another time, to where I really tried to fool myself and other people that I was a good artist. And it's not hard to fool other people. It's the scary part. And it's not hard to fool yourself, especially under the influence. But so I do these mushrooms, and I'm looking around at these drawings, and I'm like, it's time to have a funeral. So I get a box, and I take down every piece of these like comic book panels and storyboards and sketches, and I put it in a shoebox. And I say something, I think I say a thank you, I'll come back to you, but I'm putting you away now. And I cried. I was just in a room by myself. I don't even know if there's any music, but I was just crying. I was like, fuck, I'm really putting this away right now. What does this mean? I don't get it. And, I'm starting to climax a little bit. I'm getting real fucking high. But there was some sort of output there, right? So I go to take a shower. And my buddy Robert, he's in the art studio, and he's drawing. He told me that night he was possessed by an urge to draw, that he had never felt such a strong urge to draw in his entire life. And so that's what he did. And I went to the bathroom, and I'm like, naked dancing like I'm a fawn in Narnia. I'm in front of the mirror. I'm getting down. I'm jumping up and down. I'm on the second floor. My downstairs neighbors are probably pissed the hell off, but I'm not the kind of person who dances. I don't dance. I don't sing. It has to be very special for me to sing and dance, and that's like the only instance I could think of where I've ever danced like that. And I was feeling happy and grateful out of the blue, and I was just smoking through the weed, and I was letting the steam build up, because that's kind of why I was in there, because the steam really helps, expand a trip. And I was so grateful. I was grateful to have my friend in the other room. I was grateful to have my dogs and my husband. I was so grateful that despite all the chaos that I'd seen outside those doors, I still had the apartment. I could still feel safe. I was so grateful for just a gratitude. That was the key factor that night.
Right.
And then, so I get into the shower, and, obviously I'm tripping. And if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember the order of events. I think what happened first was the eyes. So I'm laying there in the shower, and I'm looking ahead. I'm just naked, sprawled out in the shower, just kind of leaning back, chilling, just enjoying the trip, watching everything move and shimmer. But then there's eyes that kind of start blinking in and out. And they're kind of coming through, and I can see the light glistening, and they're like looking at me, and they're looking around, and they're kind of zooming in and out, and they're getting a little more intense. But as they're starting to get closer and get more intense, there's a snapping and there's a snarling, and I'm just like, oh, Jesus. So for a minute, I'm starting to get anxious. I'm like, whoa. There was gratitude. There was good luck here. What the fuck? But I in that moment, I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling good today. And they're snapping and barking, and there's like, it's like spit flying in my face. It almost seems like, and I'm just like, kind of like with Joe Rogan and the Gestures, that he's going through interdimensional time and space, and they're like, fuck you. And there's a whole psychedelic aspect of taking yourself too seriously. And
yeah, that's for sure.
yeah, like, so I do that, and there's kind of doing the telepathic speak, and then they just kind of nod at each other, and they nod, and they look at me, and they fade back into the background. And I'm like, oh shit, that's weird. And then after that, I'm able to look down at my body from the top of my shower, and I'm just looking down. The water's coming on me. There's my body. There's my fat folds. There's my legs. There's my thighs. And I'm like, oh shit. And it's kind of like I'm here, but I'm there at the same time. And I'm just kind of, I just kind of move my arms a little bit, kind of having a silly time. And then I come back. But then I'm looking at my shower curtain. So my shower curtain was clear, and there was a white curtain on the other end, white or white and black. There's no reflection whatsoever. Well, it starts to produce a reflection. It starts to shimmer, and it starts to become like a giant mirror, but it's one that it looks like someone just took a bat to it, right? Like it's just fractaled out into millions of billions of pieces, and they're all just kind of glitching and piecing together through time and space. And I'm just kind of looking at it, mesmerized. I'm like, oh, wow. And then I'm just like, all of a sudden, I'm looking at inside of the jars of frogs, like I'm in a laboratory or something. It's wet specimens. They're dead frogs floating around in glass mason jars. And there's points to where I'm even looking out from the perspective of the tiniest bit of flesh that broke off the frog and just starts floating around the jar. And I'm just going for a little ride, looking all around and seeing the shapes on the outside. And it's almost like there's men in coats. It reminds me of scientists. It almost seemed like white lab coats and masks, and people kind of moving around and shuffling the jars and looking through. But past that, mostly just a white light. And, it's just really weird. And then that was there for a little bit, and I'm just like, why frogs? I'm like, metamorphosis, life, death. I'm thinking all the things. I'm going in and out of frog bodies, and it's beautiful. It's mesmerizing. The best way I described it is the intro of Alien Resurrection. There's this kind of shot where they're going through, and it's like a kind of organic alien mesh, and it's like running it through a kind of fun maze mirror. That's really what it looked like.
Okay.
And
So,
yeah. And the next part on that is, so then that recedes, and I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. But then next to me, a little diamond starts to form. And I'm just like, okay, well, what's in this little diamond? Because this diamond's darker than the rest. And the rest are shiny and reflective, but this one almost goes somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And it's like shifting through the fractals, like the shape just isn't solid. It's like it's moving through time and space is the best way that I can describe it. Even when I left the trip, one of the first things I said coming out of there, and this wasn't in regards to the psychedelic entity that came next, but I said, I think I just saw God and it's not what we think it is. And I was referring more to that creation energy source. It was just the first thing that flew out of my mouth when I left.
Right.
But something stepped out of the shadows, and it was a white hooded figure with a gray face, but there was paint on it, like Joker paint. And it was like the Todd Phillips version or whatever. It was the blue and then the red of the mouth, but it was
Right.
on the face of an elongated reptilian head, a gray entity with no eyes, just a black mass, no eyes. And the paint was just, everything was ever changing. Nothing had a solid structure. It was like mist.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Okay.
from my studies, that started to make sense. But just to finish off the thought real quick.
Yeah, and then I'll shed some light onto what I
Yeah.
believe you experienced.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I just want to finish off the descriptor, because the way it was engaged, it was like ritual. I didn't see a circle, but I know it was standing in a circle. I didn't see a tail with a stick with a mirror shard, but I know that there was a tail with a stick with the mirror shard, and that the mirror shard hanging off the stick in front of it was what was helping communicate with me. The symbols of anarchy, the war paint, the red and blue. I'm even starting to realize there's some things that I've learned about the Jinn since our conversation, that things have actually very much matched up. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump in, because I've already presented you with a lot. Let's start dissecting a little bit, because I want this to be the fair trial of the Jinn, the fair trial of Germacules. I want to look at this, observe this, because we need to know and understand our demons and give them a thorough analysis. And that's what I want to do with you, so that we can understand these entities.
Right. So first off, you can check your demon's name with a wiki of known names, and you can go from there to verify if it even is a known demon or an unknown demon. What I believe you experienced was a quantum entanglement. And this happens to those who are awake and who are uh, essentially shamanic, maybe a little more woke than the rest. Uh, so, yeah, I believe what you experienced was a quantum entanglement. And in this type of thing, there can be many different outcomes. It doesn't stick primarily to any timeline because to other entities, time happens all at once from beginning to end, and it just is. And we and the third dimension see it as linear time, okay? And we go from birth to death, and our expected experience or our created experiences from that point and that point only. Um, this Here's an experience I had. When I was about 14, I had a dream that I was Spanish and that I was working, putting up concrete on walls, so I was stuccoing. And it was, I remember it being Friday. It was really hot. Everybody was sweaty, tired, wanted to go home to their families. It was payday. It was time to go. Come on, let us go, let us go, let us go. And the boss came back from lunch, and he had a 6-pack of Budweiser tall boys. And I remember drinking this beer with the man that I worked with, who had gotten the beer, who was a friend. We drank our beers, and we toasted and drank our beers. And at the last second, I said, "Hey, you know what? Let's seal this moment in time." And I put my can in the wall. I pulled back the screen, put my can in. I said, "Put your can in." He put his can in and tacked it down. Excuse me. And we stuccoed it over. Okay. And I woke up. So when I was uh, 30 in 1999, I bought a house in Portales, New Mexico, and uh, it it uh, it was tied to that. Okay, uh, it was one of those houses that called me. You will live here. That happens to several houses that I've gone by that call to me. You belong here. You're going to be here. Uh, and they reach out to me, and these are the spirits in the house, I believe, or my guides, saying that this is part of your destiny. This is part of your life lesson. You need to do this.
You
If
have to
not,
be here in order for certain outcomes to occur.
exactly, yeah. You're going to learn from this. You're going to learn from this. Deal with it. You're going to learn from this. And I end up buying the house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath for like $15,000. Is incredibly, pretty much put it in my lap with every penny that I had, and I got it and moved in. And man, was that house haunted! Black masses, just day and night, running down the hallways. In the middle of the day, they're uh, tannish, brownish, small, 3 foot, running down the hallway. At this point, we were all sleeping in the same room because nobody could get a night's sleep unless we were all together. We were stronger as a family in a group. So, it was a defense mechanism to circle the wagons.
Yeah,
Uh,
boost your frequencies, kind of. I
oh,
mean,
absolutely.
goddamn, when your heart rate's accelerating, when you're feeling that sense of isolation and that's driving your fear up. That's driving up negative energy. That's bringing things that you don't want even closer to you because they're like, you're feeling it, ain't
Yeah,
you?
and
You're
I
fucking
had
feeling it.
I was raising grandbabies, so my son was
Mhm.
taken. Um, I was raising grandbabies, so I at one point I'm tearing down the carport because it was just too dangerous. It was falling down. It wasn't built that great, and the rain had rotted through it. And um, we're tearing down the stucco, and all of a sudden I stop. My son and I are out there, my eldest, Christopher, and I tell him, "Look, you're going to think I'm fucking nuts, but up in this right hand corner, when we pull this down, there's going to be two 16-ounce Budweiser cans from 19, whatever it was, 70, 77. I think it was 77, the year I graduated. So, uh, and I wouldn't pull it. I let him pull it, and he pulled it down, and his face just went blank. And he pulls out two 16-ounce Budweiser cans, blue label, that in a alternate life or a shared life experience or a quantum entanglement was put there. So, and I knew they were there. When I was a kid, though, when I was, see, when I dreamt this, when I had this lucid dream, I was like 14 years old. The actual time frame of when that happened was 1977. So, 4 years later, 3 years, 4 years later, uh, is when it actually happened. And then I found it in um, year 2000, I guess, was when we took it down. So, and I knew it was there, and there it was. So that's quantum entanglement. That's a mishmash of life experience through, I don't know if it's channeling or shining or whatever you want to call it, but I do know that it is a shared experience, and um, and that it happened, and I knew it was special when I felt it because I never forgot it. And when I experienced it, was deja vu. It was such a feeling of deja vu. It was like everything just started spinning a little bit, and it was like, ooh, here we go, goosebumps. Oh my goodness, I know what's next, and I know it's gonna be there. And damn if it wasn't, man.
Yeah.
So this
And
was.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I believe that you experienced a similar thing. That you were indeed talking to this entity. Um, and I believe that your perspective of being a piece of the frog is maybe you were the frog, buddy. So,
Involved more than one version of himself.
Yeah, more than one version. Yeah, your soul, as I've said in past episodes, can be shared by 24 up to 24 entities, and that's because of the cache of souls. There's only so many souls to go around. There are so many people now that we share souls, and unless we start manufacturing souls, and I don't know that anybody has the ability other than Gaia, Sophia, God, whatever you choose for her, uh, you know, yeah, whatever the force, the source, the force. There are so many names, Buddha, Shiva, um, yeah, your higher power, exactly, the 12 step. Thank you, baby girl. And yeah, so there's so many names for the same entity, the same force, the same source. So yeah, man. Just know that these things happen, and when you are a part of a bigger picture, that maybe some of it bleeds over a little bit. Maybe this person was astral projecting and was out of their body, and maybe in some way you help bring it back. So I always look for a positive outcome, a positive reason that this happened.
Yeah.
Maybe it's simply for validation, and or maybe it was so I could have the experience to share the experience with you and with others and with you people, and let you know that if something like this is happening to you, then you need to pay attention to what's going on around you and realize that these are other influences, that the other sources of um, input, and maybe not necessarily your own, your influence, just like your influencers on TV, on all the social medias. Tyler's a beautiful influencer because when this man walks into a room, he commands the room. When he speaks, people listen. All my life, when I spoke, people have listened. I am, well, I've had it said that nobody kind of likes Larry. You're all in or you're all out.
And I ain't never met anybody that was all out yet. Anyone I've ever known that's come around you, met you, remembers you, loves you.
Anyone who has sat down and talked with me for a little bit, I can usually find a common ground with them. Because being older than dirt, there's not a whole lot I haven't done. A Renaissance man, a master of none. Well,
Yep. And and it just all might sound all so crazy to people out there, but I mean, this is my beer can. It took me less than 3 weeks for this jarred frog, bullfrog specifically, which was specific to the trip, to find my way. And I've told the story about my friend Kellen before on the channel, detransitioner. Moved into a house and wanted some help moving. I'm always just like, yeah, let's go fucking move and do all that shit because it's a fun thing to do. And whenever you're helping people move in, you get something cool whenever you leave, right? Because everyone's always like, I don't want this, I don't want this. You can just take this. So it's kind of like a nice little tip whenever you're doing that. But this was my tip because I was asking my buddy, I'm like, all right, so where'd you get this apartment from? She's basically just like, oh yeah, well, my friend was kind of batshit mentally insane, was doing a lot of occulty witchy practices in the house and ran off to Portland, and we think may or may not be in some sort of rehab or mental institution.
Right.
And these were apparently in front of a giant pentagram, altars, candles, and I was told, you like creepy stuff, so get it out of our way if you want it. And there was that, and also the rabbit, which I'll explore the rabbit over time. That maybe it's just something that happened to also be there, but
well,
the main focus.
What I do know is that you need to set them free.
Yes.
That they are bound in there. That if you're seeing an experience through them, then there is someone or something attached to it. With that said, help it, release it, give it closure, give him closure, give her closure, whoever it might be.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think that was the channel, because the whole time, like from the beginning, one of the messages that I was communicated with, this happened in 2 separate trips, by the way. That all was the first trip. The second trip happened maybe a year ago, where it's like, this is the name, but I don't think it was its name, because I mean, there's a couple angles tackle on this, but Larry, ever since he told me the other day that I need to bury this thing and we figured out some of what it was, you know how I told you I put that story in a box and I just didn't think about it, and it's been that way since 2020? I picked up a pad and pencil the other day, and in less than 2 days, I figured out a first rough draft synopsis from the beginning to the end of my graphic novel, like it was fucking nothing. And I've been able to use all of the experiences and stories I've learned since 2020.
Yeah.
And I feel as though this thing has given me permission to insert it in as my antagonist to really show the world what demon behavior is. And so I started looking into the Jinn and the 7 Jinn Kings. And there's a couple where I'm like, oh, it's kind of on point, but it's not. That part adds up, but that part doesn't. And then I found a part that just, at least for the most part, in my estimate, lines up entirely. And its name isn't Jamalcules, it's Shamarash, or the Judge. Its color is purple. Its sign of the planets is Jupiter. Its metal is tin, which kind of made me laugh whenever I was thinking of that, metal can story you were just telling, talking about Jinn. There's always a metal association. And then it said Thursday, and I said, that Thursday, that's the last determining factor for me. Well, thankfully, I wrote on here what date this happened, August 13th, 2020, Thursday. And this is what I learned about it. It's the oldest of all the Jinn Kings. It's the only Jinn King that doesn't have any disposition towards man. It doesn't have any malice towards man, whereas the other Jinn do. It's the king of knowledge, wisdom, awareness, and revealing mysteries. It despises violence, but at the same time, it's firm and rules with justice over the rebellious Jinn. That's what I've learned, and I think in terms of the channel, a fair analysis of demons, of
Right.
omens, of people's inner struggle, and having to utilize my own demon, now seen in visual presentation in psychological creative form, to say, okay, this is yours, but what do you do about it? Because I've been thinking about the psychology of it, because I'm thinking, Nephilim, clown, reptilians, there's so many angles. But then I start to think of like the psychology angle, the Carl Jung angle, all that, and it's the psychology of the fool and the jester. And I realized that at my best, I'm a jester. I'm challenging power. I'm looking authority in the face and I'm saying, fuck you. Be it my boss or someone, people in my family or people in the government or people in the streets. I will hold my own, and I want to make you look like an asshole. Because half the time I'm coming at you, you're a fucking asshole. I really don't go picking fights with people that don't deserve it. And it's a specific type of psychology that I seem to have a beef with, which is cluster B and narcissism and scapegoating tactics, and all the thing that society seems to be dealing with on a whole.
Yeah.
And so at my best, I'm the jester, but at my worst, I'm the fool. And the same time that you've told me that I need to bury this is the same time that I had an instance go down with my first Ex Antifa member, which was a goal of the channel. And I told you about that. And I think that I would be a fool to pursue things and to go picking fights and to go running my mouth whenever it's uncalled for. Kind of like you happen to start off with today. It's
you
a
can't
jester knows when to taunt, and a fool doesn't know much of anything other than ego.
Yeah. The ego needs to stop. Everybody needs to experience an ego death. We all rise together. We all will change this world, and we can do it with as small, humbleness, love, coming from a right place, with the right intention, and it's intention. It's goodness. You choose positive over negative, because um, religion is essentially polarity. Uh, what side of the battery are you on? Are you on the good side or the bad side? The one that's charged up or the one that's charging down? Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, and there's karma. So we've taken two simple, basic rules of physics, and now we've explained the entire universe with those two simple rules. And that's a polarity, a duality, whatever you want to call it, and it expands from there. So when you think of us as us, which is what we need to do, instead of thinking us as me or I, we need to think of us as we, all of us. Um, I was privy to the Akashic records, I believe, most of my life, and my higher self and others of influencing me. Uh, my grandmother, Myrtle White, was born with a veil. She was very, very strong, um, very psychic, and she used to scare the hell out of us with ghost stories around the campfire. It was so awesome. I remember. I just want to go into a personal thing with her. I love this lady so much. She was so sweet and such a good soul. She would wake up and her room would be full of people from 100 years prior, dressed in period dress, having a ball and dancing in her living room. Kind of like the haunted house ride.
Haunted Mansion. I was literally thinking that in my head, the Eddie Murphy movie. I haven't actually got to see the ride.
Yeah, and that was the scene that she woke up to one night.
Wow.
And but on the other hand, she's also woke up with a black blob that came up and crawled up onto her chest and was smothering her too.
Yeah,
So,
when my grandma was pregnant with my father, she tells this story often, and some people in the family call her crazy. I ain't one of them. But she talks about a black dog appearing from the shadows in the back of the corner and essentially just coming at her and trying to maul her. And she's like, I never felt something so real in my entire life.
it's a hellhound, and it's what you experienced in the shower. Okay. Yeah, they're real. They're there. Well, let's just say they're there. Uh, you know,
There's a lot of things that are
you
there.
can give them power, or you can take their power away.
Yeah.
You can choose to pursue it, find out why. You can rabbit hole over it. You can worry about it. You can trip on it. You can fucking do this and that and the other thing. And the whole time you're just giving it more and more energy to manifest.
And and I think that's the thing with that is,
Out of your head.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Get it out your fucking head. Choose happiness. Happiness is a choice, God dang it. And that's what you do. So,
Yep.
you know,
And that's what I'm
just
going to do because, well, I think it came in a benevolent term. I think in having this understanding and perhaps even knowing that I would be able to come to this conclusion, seeing as how it can go through space and time and all that,
right.
part of me thinks that the choice here is, like you said, to bury it, to do away with it. Because I think when my friend was in my art studio, he was channeling this. Like I said, he had this compulsion to draw. He felt the need. And when I go through Paul Staub's works on the channel, Understanding Conspiracy, and the clowns look like Nephilim, and going through all that, so much of the symbolism in this drawing, which I'll post up there for everybody, is demonic and Nephilim in nature. And I think that this drawing that came out the other end from my friend was him channeling a warning that if I don't see this through to the end, if I don't give it a fair assessment, if I don't reveal it, if I don't do as because one of the things I said that it told me initially in the messaging that it sent was, you and I both exist under God, meaning it and I. We exist under God. We exist under creation. If God and creation goes away, this thing was like, I go away, you go away. So use me how you will, but if you don't give in to your creativity, if you don't start creating and drawing and doing everything that you need to again, well, then it's all going to fall apart, and then God will go away, and then you will go away, which will mean that I go away. And it was almost like a sadness, like it almost kind of in a weird way, like a plea, like, hey, I know you're the type of guy that looks at crazy shit and will give it a more in-depth analysis than others. Please examine this. Please look at your life. Please try and put that crazy out into the world to let people know that these psychedelic experiences have meanings. They lead to different places, perhaps entities with different cultures and religions. Because again, it was engaged in a ritual. It was engaged in things specifically geared to me. There was intent behind that, which means there would have had to have been some sort of step-by-step process, books, knowledge, wisdom, what have you. Again, the king of knowledge, wisdom, and awareness. So it's like, these things are out there. They're for us to examine. And for anyone out there who's just like, these two motherfuckers are crazy, they need to be thrown into a loony bin, look at it psychologically. Look at it artistically. You don't even have to look at it in terms of demons and aliens. Psychologically speaking, I feel like there's something there for, any therapist in the world to sit back and be like, okay, even if I don't believe that that's an alien or a jinn or a demon, I believe it means something that is going on with their subconscious, and I think it's helping create a picture of what might be going on in their head.
Right.
I think one of the most important things you can understand about a person is understanding their psychedelic experiences. That'll tell you who a motherfucker is. Because I've listened to some people going about their psychedelic experiences as being the greatest in the world, and everything was so grand. They were hitting on their girlfriend 5 minutes before that they fucking went and met God. So it's like, was it really that fucking grand? People can dilute themselves into thinking that a bad trip is a good one. Like myself, at times where I would look in the black mirror and see the demons, and I was just like, hey, if I sit here on phase, then is it really a bad trip? No, it's a bad trip because it takes a psychological toll, and it just switches your frequency and it sends you on a different path. But yeah, it's all so wild and fascinating to me, and I don't think I'm ever going to do psychedelics again. I think that's part of closing the door, is like, there's so many psychedelics I haven't tried, like ayahuasca and all these other things. I had my DMT trip that I did have was kind of half-ass at best, but I'm sitting here like, if I can summon that, what else can I summon? And maybe that's part of the warning too.
Yeah, that's very much a warning, and what a brilliant point to bring up, Tyler, because We are the manifestors of our life. We create what goes on around us. We allow it, we continue, or we change accordingly. So the thing to remember there is we're creatures of habit. We tend to get into a pattern and we don't want to break that pattern. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, yeah, just like you know that you need to let loose, bury the frog, bury the rabbit, say goodbye to them, thank them for their journey and the knowledge that they've given to you, and let them go, buddy. Let them go.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then leave them alone. Don't give them another thought. Once you've freed them, it's up to them, their free choice, their free will to manifest into their next lifetime. Let the Akashic record receive their knowledge. Okay.
And I wish it
Because,
happiness because it has taught me a lot. Because that's the thing is, I didn't go begging for wisdom. It wasn't like, let me give you some dark occultic knowledge. It was just like, look at your shit, look at your shit, and then go make something of your shit. And I'm kind of looking at that like,
right.
well, it's not the worst message, you
No,
know.
things can be okay. You can bind things. You can freeze things, and more than just water. You can freeze spirits. You can freeze. Well, I froze time. So what are we capable of? I believe we're capable of anything that we uh, create in our mind. If we can think it, we can be it. In other words, and when I say create in my mind, I'm not talking delusion, illusion. Uh, I'm talking creation. I'm talking manifestation.
What power are you going to give it?
Yeah, exactly. How much power are you going to give it? Jennifer says, and that's it in a nutshell. Um, because you're going to feed it or not. So be on the right track. Feed the good stuff. Let the bad stuff go. Learn from it. Move on. Um, you might not think that something bound is bad. It was bound for a reason, but hey, maybe the reason was petty. Maybe it was bound by someone. Here's an experience. My grandmother, Myrtle.
Here, 1 moment. The dogs are running around like crazy. I'm gonna go. 1 second.
Okay, I'm going to tell folks this story.
Hey, can y'all put Jax up, please?
Now, Myrtle, my grandma, she was super. She was an amazing, amazing woman. Um, I loved her to death,
Thank you.
and I wish I had more time to spend with her. Uh, she
All
was
right,
great.
sorry.
I remember at her funeral, a man who she had helped when he was a child came, and he was so distraught that she passed that he literally jumped up and laid onto the coffin and brought it down. It crashed to the ground as he sobbed and he wailed. Such sadness I'd never seen. Um, Sadly, he ended his life a couple of months later, from what I heard. And so that was my first uh, experience or example of how much a single person can influence another person. Uh, you know, um, Nothing but good intentions. She fed that boy when he was hungry. She gave him a place to stay. I guess he was uh, being abused or out in the street. I'm not sure exactly what the story was. All I know is that it was cousin Warren, and that was it. From what I understand from another person in my family, which I've been ostracized from, is the crazy guy. Uh, his child is still part of the family, but for whatever reason, I'm not allowed to know. What? Oh, yeah, yeah. So I'm at Myrtle's, right, and this is I believe the year she died, or a couple years prior, and I go outside and I notice the dog is not is avoiding this one spot, circling it, and I can see a static, like a pole uh, of static from the ground up to heaven or farther. And I say, okay, I'll bite. And I walk inside and I step inside. Now I'm inside this static. And there's an old man there. And he starts talking to me. And he claimed to be my grandfather. And um, I don't know if that was true or not. Uh, but I'm talking to him and he's talking real nicely, and all of a sudden, yeah, all of a sudden it's like she comes outside and says, "You get away from him." And I step out and I said, "Who?" She says, You stay away from him. Don't you talk to him." So she knew he was there. She knew that when I was in there, I was speaking to him. She knew everything. So I'm assuming that she's the one that found him and put him there. And,
Do you think she knew some of the rules? Do you think she was
mad at him and bound him? Yeah, I do. That's my personal takeaway from that. And I know that later in life, when on my first marriage, um, I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning and get up, get up, get up. Troy's surrounded in light. Troy was the first wife's son, and so I get up and I run out to where he is, and lo and behold, he's in a like a egg-shaped static of light, surrounded. And I reach in, and as I reach in, I realize that it's the same entity that spoke to me in the light. And I wake him up. He's really groggy, and he says, "Who is that man? Who is the old man?" And I said, "There was an old man in there." "Yeah, what did he say?" "Well, he was just introducing himself, and he was really nice, and he said he just wanted to get to know me and you know see
why do you
who I
believe he was bound?
because I believe that uh, I believe that whatever he did was pretty upsetting. Uh,
So do you think
and
whenever he comes around, it's kind of like, I think in terms, I got a piece of shit grandfather who child molester, abuser, piece of shit. No one wants him around, but he still always tries to come around and be like, "Hey, I'm still your loving grandpa. I never did any of those things." But
well, I don't
then,
know
do you
about
think it's like that level, or do you think it's like a genuine, like, "Hey, I really just want to get to know you"? Like, do you feel any malevolence out of this? I guess is kind of what I'm trying to surmise from this.
I always felt a curiosity and whatnot, and who knows, maybe there was some form of improperness with the children, which would definitely invoke a maternal instinct to bind and yeah, maybe he's the fucking pervert offering popsicles. Who knows?
Yeah, and it wasn't to say like necessarily a pedophilia aspect, but I mean, if you want to think about it realistically, in terms of possibilities in the realms of what could be possible in a situation like this could be a factor. But I was in no way trying to insinuate there's some sort of pedophilia there. There's those in family structures that will wrong people, and then they'll pretend like they didn't, and they think they can get away with pretending it by just flipping a switch. And
believe it too. Yes, no, I understand that. And
yeah. I just kind of wonder if that translates across life, time, and space, and all that. If you get locked into those kinds of things.
You're very perceptive. Maybe you're reading something that I never read simply because I was too close to it, because I was essentially a bloodline of this person. This would have been 4 generations ago, and maybe he was the one that sold his soul to the devil.
And and the thing is like, I feel like that's the case because, like, in society, it's like you said, so many people have these stories, but we can't discuss them openly. Can you imagine if you walked into, like, I don't know, an IHOP or something, and everybody around you, the way they were talking about politics, they were talking about time and space and quantum entanglements and the trips that they had. And you look around and realistically, everyone's doing drugs. Everyone's had them. Everyone has some sort of crazy story. But in our inability to speak about them openly and comfortably, and our feeling like we don't want to look like a jackass or a fool, we keep them to ourselves. But it's like, how much more can we solve if, say, you just went out and on a daily basis, you were surrounded by like a dozen people who knew what the fuck you were talking about and wanted to give their input, and kind of like how we talk about science and politics and all this other shit. We all need to kind of start bringing our pieces to the table, because that's really what's keeping us from the truth, not government disclosure. The fact that we're so scared to speak, and government disclosure. But
okay, now, yeah, let me speak out on that. Now, I've reached out to the person that did the story on me, and read on his webpage how he says he's open to stuff like this. So I told you I didn't want to say his name until I reached out to him. I've reached out to him. He's chosen not to respond. So I'm going to take that as a go ahead. And his name is Jeff Offit, and or no, Jason Offit. Excuse me, Jason Offit, and he is a bestseller of paranormal shit, dark shit, basically shadow people. And he did a 3 week story of my my opening of this portal that is, I believe, I finally closed, and and that was a Ouija board where I invoked the demon Zozo, and who is the Ouija board demon. And I believe that at 5 years old, I opened a portal by not respecting, understanding, cleansing, putting up boundaries of only good and no evil shall pass. And, because you got to lay out ground rules when you're dealing with other dimensions. And the spiritual plane is a whole different dimension. And it is one that where time is not linear, and time is everything beginning to end, and they have no limitation on knowing. So whoever I spoke to that was at the foot of my bed dressed as my brother, coming to me telling me my whole life experiences, I said, "You're not my brother. Who are you?" And woof, he was gone. I believe, well, now in retrospect, that it was me. Because who else would know that but me?
Kind of like my experience, like it's like you are your demon. There is a point where I'm literally in front of the fractal, and I'm just kind of noticing that its head's kind of moving with my head, and I'm like, wait a minute, and I kind of go in front of the mirror and I do this, and then it does that and it follows me. It's a manifestation of your inner demons.
Yeah. So, and these are things that we create. These are things that we allow to exist, that we bring into, speak into existence. And through this Ouija board endeavor to meet my eldest brother, Jimmy, who drank kerosene when he was 2.
Jesus.
Yeah, he died when he was 2 years old, and I always wanted to talk to Jimmy, so they got me a Ouija board, told me the stories of Grandma, the Ouija board, how she could run it with one hand, automatic writing, um, crystal balls, the whole 9 yards. And and I spoke to someone who claimed to be Jimmy, and of course it wasn't. And I believe it was the demon Zozo. And that I opened up a portal at that point in time. That when I did this, and prior to it, I would wake up in the morning to the murmurings in the living room of a group of spirits that I believe was the same group of spirits that was dancing in my grandmother's room, and I believe it's uh, my ancestors. And, they were trying to wake me up, literally to wake me up. And the murmurings were to, and here's an imitation of or a representation of what I was hearing is, and it'd be like, you could hear them having their own brisk conversation, enjoying their existence out in
Whenever I lived next to you and I was hearing voices in my head, and it's not to say that's what it is, but whenever I was abusing drugs, and like I said, it sounded like you were plotting to kill me, the upstairs neighbors, people were outside the windows. That's what it sounded like. Disembodied, like you could tell the tone, you could tell the intent, but where the words started to come in was where I started to overthink it and put it in my mind. And as I overthought it, that's where the madness became, because it's like, okay, well, that sounded really angry, but is it just saying it was going to fucking kill me? And then I'm thinking in my head, okay, so if it said,
okay, and now it has you flight or fight, at which point you're not centered, you're not yourself, you're not in control of your psyche as well as you can be. On edge, it makes you tired, which takes your game away, which makes it easier to be influenced and led down a darker path than what you would normally choose. Okay.
I hallucinated my old roommate. You know the old roommate, the one that would wake everybody up 8 o'clock in the morning screaming through that goddamn acoustic guitar. I hallucinated that whenever his mom came over, he was playing a song in the back about the devil coming and taking my soul and me going and burning in hell. There was no way that that concert was happening out back for everybody to hear while I was just sitting there chilling in my room. But like, it was like the level of paranoia and fear it put. There was moments where I put myself in danger and borderline almost other people in danger. Like, it was literally like I became possessed. And what was the answer to that? Drink more, do more drugs, find better mushrooms, get better acid, do better coke.
Yeah, in my discretion, I had my indiscretion. I had an affair with a young stripper girl who had targeted me, and I was more than willing to be a target. And that roommate of yours is on our OnlyFans.
Dude, that roommate of mine, there's a reason that I like so much that's going on in the LGBT community. For all those out there, I haven't told this story yet. I literally lived with an autogonophile who pretended to be trans to get into the LGBT community, to then go and rape and sexually assault over a dozen people within the LGBT community in the punk sphere. So whenever people are saying like there's fucking predatory men going out there pretending to be women, they are weaponizing that empathy. And for a lot of people, it is a sexual fetish. And for a lot of people, they have taken it to predatory levels to where y'all got to be cautious. It's destroying our fucking community. But that's another story for another time. But yeah, that sick fuck is on a list of 3 people in my life that if I see, out. But the thing is I think he might have actually got ran out of town because he made the list of a lot of people doing that stupid shit. So fuck him.
You must treat people like you want to be treated. You can't treat people as wallets, ATMs. You can't just um, um, yeah, several things come to mind, but I can't think of anything appropriate or useful or productive to say.
Non-positive. We gotta stick with the positivity.
Go down that negative road, and I'm going to choose happiness
Yeah.
and say that yes, that darkness does exist. Yes, it was a major factor in my life for a point, and yes, I'm choosing the light. Yeah, yeah, I'm
What
choosing the
else
light.
was gonna shit? Damn.
Yeah, right. I wish that person that I am speaking of the best, a young mother who is in her head doing the best she can for a child. Um, um, at we'll just say at in my opinion at risk. I'm not saying that the child is or not. It's not for me to spit that out. However, you know, all
Everybody's
my
going through so much crazy right now. So much hard
yeah, so much
times.
crazy. Absolutely. So enough about that. And and I've reached out and said, please, accept my apology. I was an ass, and let's you know try to live productive lives from here forward. Um, to which I've got a response of a finger.
And
But
that's such a hard thing to accept sometimes because I mean, I'm somebody who's burned so many bridges and fucked over so many people. I've spread rumors about people. I've fucking hit motherfuckers. I've stolen from my own family. It doesn't get much lower than that. And there it does come a point where, it sucks and it's such a stab to the fucking heart whenever they tell you fuck you, I will not accept that apology. But it's also
well,
a really strong learning lesson if we let it.
it's worse when you realize that you're getting lip service of an apology, and you truly understand that you're never going to get that apology, and you need to accept that, learn your lesson, and move the fuck on.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's hard for strong-minded, strong-willed people like myself to not obsess and turn into uh, an object of control.
Mhm.
You will do my will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned that the fucking hard way.
I feel like
And
it's hard for guys like you and me. I feel like you have much more wisdom, but like when our pride gets hit, it gets hit. Even though it can be selfless and loving, there's still a little bit of that pride where when you get poked in just the right spot, it's just like, ouch.
yeah,
Like shit. That poked a little bit.
when I had the very first time, uh, I popped an air bag from some equipment that I bought from China, and it blew in my face,
Ooh.
and the air was infected. This is what I believe.
The
And
air was infected? That's a thing?
the bag, yeah, yeah. Well, it came from an area that had a airborne virus,
Whew.
and bags of air filled with the virus. Was it intentionally filled? Was it unintentionally filled? Who knows?
I'm just thinking of
Uh,
that being weaponized. Shit.
all I know, yeah, you can weaponize air. You can weaponize any fucking thing. You
God
can
damn.
weaponize. I've always, since I was a young child, have been able to look around and see 100 different potential weapons um, that are within reaching distance, or within a step or two. So, yeah, that's always been a thing. Uh, Personally, I believe I was a part of MK Ultra.
Mhm.
Um, my grandfather was World War II war hero. He was a doughboy. Uh, um, stormed the beach of Normandy. Was one of the few survivors. My family I come from a family of survivors. My uncle was on the Lucky Loop in World War II. So, yeah, I believe one of my incarnations was a kamikaze pilot. My last life, I was a kamikaze pilot. And I consciously didn't hit the boat.
Okay, I was about to say, that doesn't sound like much of a survivor.
I didn't want to be a killer. I didn't want my soul to go to hell for me taking lives that I had no personal beef with the instruction of someone else.
Quick deterrence, real quick, not to sidetrack too much, but go watch Godzilla -1. That's the plot of the story. If you haven't seen it, it's a Japanese kamikaze pilot that faces the dishonor of going back to Japan after having backed out of a kamikaze pilot.
Yeah,
and it's compelling. It's such an amazing movie. But sorry, continue. I just want to throw that out there. Go watch that.
I vividly remember making the choice, coming down to the boat. My target was a specific point on the boat, and each plane was given a tactile target on the boat to take the boat out, right? There are key points of this, that, and the other thing. I knew that where I was going to hit was an engine room, and there was going to be men down there that would have, it would have been horrible. And I got a premonition of what it would be if I did what I did. And that, I believe I experienced a quantum entanglement moment at that point, which revealed to me that this is something that my soul does not want to do or be a part of, and that if I didn't, that I would be tortured. It was easier just to end it and move on to the next life, because when you're in those situations, you understand that life is fleeting, and we exist past this body. The dying part sucks, I'm here to tell you. And I don't want to leave this shell. As far as I am concerned, I'd like to be this little old man and start that clock going backwards and have my biblical lifetime. I think we're all I think we're entitled to it. I want to use the word, but
use the word what?
Owed. We're owed them.
Well, it's kind of like a birthright in a weird way, right? Because it's like,
I believe that we are entitled to it. That it's something that has genetically been taken from us to keep us in a short lifespan, to where we don't wake up and move into our next existence. The end of the Mayan time calendar was not the end of time. It was not the end of days. It was going from a dark point in time to a light point in time, and that we need to wake up and go with it into the light point of time. And,
is that Kali Yuga? Is that the same thing?
Pardon?
Is that the same thing as the term Kali Yuga? Is that the same?
I don't know. You're always throwing these words at me, guy, and I honestly don't know. I can speak the premise as I know it to be true, and that's all I can do. So like I say, you get onto these channels, and everybody's got a nice new that they come up with, and they call it, and another person will call it that, and then a third self-proclaimed expert will call it something else.
We're all writing the same damn story.
Yeah, well, I have a friend who is he has a 420 scene, and he is a cannabis influencer. He's done interviews with Tommy Chong. In fact, I was supposed to interview with Tommy when I had my 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 accident. So that was the day before that. So
Yeah, I was always wondering what happened with that because I remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
I really, really, uh, yeah. I don't want to get into it tonight, but
Yeah.
I
No. No.
respect Tommy, and man, he's been such a trailblazer, and I want to kind of take off on his energy and blaze that trail as well.
I was watching
My
some of his stand up yesterday, actually. Like, his stand up is just so goddamn funny. Like, it just seems like a fun guy to be around. He's talking about getting busted, like, on 9/11 for making bongs and shit. And Bush talking about how they're supplying money to the Middle East. He's like, I wish I would have got some of that money, man.
that was silly. That was crazy. Uh,
Christ.
but yeah, you bet, man. Um, yeah, I loved all the movies. In fact, the one with Nice Dreams has a clown head on top of the 1949 ice cream truck.
Oh,
So
shit.
check that. That's awesome stuff. But yeah, I was definitely influenced by him to speak my piece, to nut up or shut up. And when I opened CMO, we were the first website of its kind to service cannabis to all legal states. We were the very first one. We were also the very first site to uh, do the same thing with psilocybin. Um, so psilocybin because it's under attack by a lot of states. But essentially, I did interviews with Stoned Phillips and other. Huh? No. This is a guy named Stoned Phillips, and he's a 420 influencer interviewer, and he came out and interviewed me, man, and wanted to know what was up, and essentially he said, if you could say one thing to the masses, what would you tell them? And I said, push your boundaries, push your limits. Don't take no for an answer. Uh, I opened up that website and I turned myself into a couple of different three-letter organizations and said, if anybody's going to get me, it's going to be me. And then I wrote a letter, open letter to the World Health Organization that was read to the WHO, to the UN, to the Senate.
The satanic globalist.
And yeah, and it was essentially 4,250 words about how can you make half a plant illegal. You patented it. You did one research on it. You found out it cured cancer, it cured breast cancer. I would sure love to have my mom back, be right next to my Aunt Jerry, who is still one of the five sisters who are still alive, and had her last 15 years of knowledge and her love. Uh, they took that and they made it illegal. They patented it for their own profit and then locked it down. And when it does go legal, we're gonna own it and the heck with y'all.
Yeah. And it's like, for anyone out there who doesn't believe the claim that it cures breast cancer, it's like we should be given the right to fucking try and experiment and to have access to nature and to have access to these things, because even if you don't believe it, let it be someone else's team. Let it be someone else's experiment. Because how else are we going to find answers and cures and have these discussions if we're like kept access from these things? And like, I have so much beef with marijuana legalization and psychedelics, as I've had a lot of bad experiences. I do kind of feel like, oh, they kind of lied to me about it being, addictive. Like, chemically, it's not addictive, but psychologically, habitually, I lose my shit if I don't have my fucking weed. And that's a fact. And I wish it wasn't all just like, raining praises and good things. But at the same time, it's like, it does come with so much good, so much benefit.
Yes, and see, it's our endocannabinoid system. It's our immune system. Our body creates THC and it creates CBD, and these store in the fat cells of our brain, and they regulate our immune system or our ability to fight off cancers and poisons and things that we are being fed in our food, in bad frequency, in negative input for the television. Might see some light flashes, some particular blinks, a frequency that doesn't set right that puts you in a bad mood, and then all of a sudden,
I've had a lot of lights blinking this week with all the shit I've been dealing with. I've been noticing that various places
yeah,
and I kind of think on it, and I'm just like, stop. And I'm like, I don't know if it's been in my head, but there's been once or twice where it stops, and I'm just like, all right, back to my shit now. God damn it.
yeah, you just gotta realize if it's putting you in a certain frame, that it's affecting others. Uh, so act responsibly when you're creating something that is of sound and light, that there are ambient frequencies. You could be playing something that you think is a techno pop beat that is taking little Bobby's brain and fucking frying it, and making him go out kill his neighbor, because now you've rattled his brain at that frequency to where it can't handle it anymore. And the hemisphere that has self-control has now been rattled to the point to where he has no self-control, no inhibition, and goes out and acts on the negative influence that may have been caused by watching a fucking TV show or something like that.
Yeah, because
Okay.
when it's all negative and it's all darkness, I mean, that's actually something I try to bring out in the channel too, is like my music videos, they get so fucking dark, and there's a fucking reason for that. Because when I'm listening to these songs, that's what it looks like in my head. It's fucking dark. It's flashing and screams, and people are blowing up, and it's back and forth. And I'm really trying to bring that forth to like say, like, this is what the mind of an angry young person looks like right fucking now. The moments where you're just kind of like, why the fuck is he making this? Or Jesus, that's dark. Or you start tearing up a little bit. Now imagine all that going on in some little kid's mind 24 fucking 7. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to highlight with that shit. It's not just me trying to sit down and like Rob Zombie this shit for my own sadistic pleasure. I'm trying to do it for psychological reasons to show the people the frame of mind and be like, look at this nasty shit. Like this is planet Earth. There's a lot of good, but goddamn, this is the reality for so many people on so many fronts. And we never look at that, and we never feel the energy of that, because some people, well, it's good they're always around good energy and they're always around their family and friends. Sometimes people on the other end do kind of need to feel a little bit disturbed to be like, Jesus, I didn't realize it could get that fucking dark, because it can and it does and it will.
Yeah, and that's most certainly true. I mean, I lived by Oak Park in Stockton, and Oak Park was really cool because it had a baseball diamond. The Stockton Fords or the Mudville Nine, Mighty Cases, home about that very same park, and I went to several enjoyable ball games there. Is tried to get in as much as I could, which made me a baseball fan, and I've never been much of a sports person.
Do you have a microphone near you? I think when you're rocking, the sound's cutting in and out a little bit.
Sorry. I do that because I don't know why. I just
Because we're talking about heavy ass shit.
I get into it, and the more I get into it, I start to sway, and I get into this vibe, and it just helps me to concentrate, to think, to finish my thoughts. So I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't want to dissuade you from that. Anytime y'all are hearing a creaking on the desk too, that's me, where I'm kind of just like, there's all that squeaking and shit. That's kind of me doing the exact same thing, and I'm just kind of like, oh wait, no, the creaks are coming through. Sorry, not to deter too much.
Thanks for pointing that out to me. I'll try to keep it down to a minimum. Actually, I get on Jen for doing the same thing, because she'll get in thought and she'll rock to bed, and I'll say, please stop.
Get the hell down.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's definitely a thing. Human nature is but yeah, so back onto my thought. I I've had several interesting things happen that I believe are frequency induced and whatnot. I worked for a machine company, worked on military projects, and I don't want to say what the contractor was, but I didn't want to do the job. I wasn't feeling it. I was feeling bad vibe off of the parts, off of everything there, off of the people there, and what I was building was not going to be used for good, and I sensed that. So I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to go somewhere else, do something else, and do something productive. And I knew in my heart that that wasn't productive, so they put me from one part to another part and then another part to uh, building a gold leaf uh, Christmas bulb from the year prior uh, on a government job. And I said, come on, man, this is last year's Christmas bulb. It's a government contract. It needs to be finished. We're going to turn it in and we're going to get paid. Whether or not it gets used or not is not up to us. And I thought,
You
oh,
saying Christmas bulb isn't a light, like a light bulb that you would put?
on a tree, like hanging on a tree. It was a shape with this golden Christmas tree on it with the year,
Okay.
you know, and I believe it had whatever group it was, their insignia on it, and that's, you know, probably a good thing that I don't remember that, and I wouldn't want to say it anyways.
Yeah.
And I made the comment, "What are you gonna do? Put it in a fucking time machine and take it back and give it to them on time?" Where, okay, you're fired. Come here. We need to give you an exit uh, exam or whatever. We need to have an exit meeting. Um, go sit down in this room.
Because even if it's not that, does he know about the time machine on the other project? Like, Jesus fuck, that's scary.
And I'll tell you, uh, a couple of scary guys came in and they told me um, in so many words that if I didn't uh, yeah, if I didn't cease, desist, shut the fuck up, if I ever, said anything about this, that they would go kill my mom and dad and my grandpa and grandma. And they're long gone now. And these people who threatened me, they're long gone now. So,
So is that what makes you feel comfortable speaking out? Because I mean, because I feel like if that were on paper and that were on record, like, has that concern come into your mind once when thinking about talking about this publicly? Because I feel like it's one thing to like talk
what,
one on one, but this is like YouTube, you know?
what we're experiencing is a government sanctioned, CIA sanctioned disclosure. Okay. Now, I believe that since I was young, since I was 5, since those aliens walked in through the fucking wall and grabbed me, that I was a part of MK Ultra, the secret space program, possibly a remote viewer, one of the men who stared at goats, however you want to call it. And I believe that that's exactly what I participated in. Okay. Um, Missing time, missing everything fits, okay? Everything fits. So
And that's the thing with knowing you is like I've been bullshit with so many people on so many things you've talked about time travel and reptiles, and I'm like, all right, go on and tell your story. But there's so many holes, there's so many fallacies. But knowing you over the years, the more you've like told your stories, not only do they stay consistent over time, but they always add up to somewhere. They always lead something somewhere fucking weird.
driving down the same freeway that I used to go to the one job, uh, I looked up at the overpass and a man was there with a 30-06 in scope, and he looked at me and he smiled. And I said, no. And he said, mm-hmm. He pulled the gun back, aimed, and as he pulled the trigger, I hit the gas on this little Mazda RX-3 that was hand tuned, and fucking it jumped, buddy, because the little rotary engines are fast. And instead of shooting me, he shot through the gas cap of the car and it went out to the back onto the highway and hopefully down into the asphalt. Now, we need to take this, put it into the wind. My battery is at under 15%, which tells me at home, kids, that it's time to go. Time to sum it up to our bottom line, and that is that we must choose goodness, we must choose light, we must choose the right path. We need to choose. We need to choose wisely. We need to have proper intent, good intent, love. That love is a choice. That happiness is a choice. That we need to make that choice consciously. Make that choice. Make it for others. Make it to where it can't be denied, because goodness will win. Okay, and it really will. We're going to get through this. We're going to be okay. We're going to be all right. And sooner or later, I'll actually get to where I can take these glasses off and look at this phone and see myself instead of a big giant blur, uh, because I have the faith, and I know that this is the right path. This is the right way to go. So I love you all. Tyler, I love you. I thank you for the opportunity to tell my story. If anyone has any questions, put it in the comments below, and or reach out to Tyler through your subscription, and he'll relay them to me.
Yeah, email's in the bio for anybody interested. Go to the bio, the head of my channel, and you can find it there. And we also have some guests lined up now too. So
yeah, absolutely. So that's a good thing. I want to go out and say, Jason Offit, come on down, buddy. Tommy Chong, come on down.
that'd be a dream.
Come on down. We need to talk. We need to spread this word. We need to get the goodness out. We need to make the right choice. We need to see our planet with love and understanding, and we need to make the right choice to do this. And each soul who is brought into the goodness, once we reach a tipping point, the tipping point is just 1%, the same 1% that is negative now. We overcome that by one soul, then we've tipped it.
Mm-hmm. And again, my proposal, let that 1% be people who've done shitty things, said shitty things, been shitty places, and who want to come on the other side of that. Because the thing about that is there's no shortage of people like that. It's just a matter of speaking up, knowing what your demons look like, working on yourself, and really just trying to be better. That's all it takes, is just work on being fucking better people. We all need to, and we all can.
Yeah. Shitty walk. Want the shitty chicken or shitty beef? Yeah. Man, you fucking got it spot on. Rick and Morty got it spot on. Simpsons, Matt Groening. I'm in your hometown, buddy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got the real Springfield here, and we'll back that up and talk about that later. Yeah, because there's no debate around these parts.
Let's get the story out. Let's invite Netflix and Hulu and anybody else who's out there that wants to get the freaking biggest ghost story about the craziest old man who lives in the hauntedest fucking house in Oregon. Well, that's me.
Fucking A. And let's get all the other stories out too, and like pull together and like share this information, because it's about sharing. Because when we share, we put the book together.
Exactly. Now, I've invited every ghost guy in there out, and they don't even talk to me. It's like they can feel the vibe. They can feel the negativity coming through the camera. I mean, and these are people that have bought Dracula's castle. Okay. Aleister Crowley's place. And
who also contacted gray aliens, mind you.
Yeah, well, like I said, fourth and a fifth generation on my other side of my parentage that are named Eben. So, it is what it is. And uh, I'm a Bollinger. Uh, I believe I'm a direct descendant of the Champagne people. Uh, that I was raised with a different middle name um, to keep me away from my uh, history and those who might wish me ill will because of my birthright. I believe my birthright has been taken from me, and I believe it was done by my father and my grandfather to save me from uh, whatever whatever they had planned for me, which was not good. Okay, and we'll delve into that and my pappy, the war hero, and I'll tell you some freaking stories. They can't arrest him now. He's dead. So yeah, I can tell you some things that'll raise the hair on the back of your neck, buddy.
And if anything ever happens to us, just remember these stories and remember them fucking well. Because
Watch what you say. Watch who you say it to. Let them think you're crazy. Don't try to convince them otherwise.
don't cast pearl before swine, I think is the
Whoever
expression.
here to receive this message will know that this message is given in earnest, that it's given with truth, love, and light, and they will see it for what it is, because the truth will win. Love will win out always, and we choose love, people. Choose love, people. Choose love, people. Do it.
Or else.
Kind of. I mean, I believe we're at a point where if we don't act now, these are end times. Also, that if we act now and that we get together and we put this together with the knowledge and teachings and downloads, I'm ready to go another hour, but my battery's low.
Hell yeah. Well, we'll do it for another time, maybe tomorrow or the night after. But yeah, for all you guys out there, thank you for joining in for another episode of the Uninvited Guest. And yeah,
There
you
you
guys
go.
say something?
Yeah, no, I love you all. Choose the right, choose the right, and yeah, man, have a happy day. Make that choice, and if something gets you down, take that crap off, man. Smile and lift your head and keep on going. All right, peace and love.
Hell yeah. Love you, man. Y'all have a great night.
The human is a humid sack of water. Dichroic, kaleidoscopic, and unknown. We find magic in the most peculiar places.